Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between the forces of the Beastmen up against the High Elves led by Sif Desert Fox and Mad Doc Mike himself. A very awesome looking Tyrion portrait there. I don't know if that's been updated recently. Perhaps I just haven't seen him around that much, so I'm a little bit rusty on my Tyrion lore. Anyway, let's go and have a little look at the Beastmen force today. We have some Ungor spearheads on this left-hand flank, as well as some basic Gore herds with shields, supported with some Chaos Spawn. So a nice mix and match on this left-hand flank. But in the centre pocket is where this Beastmen army is really quite ferocious, and that is triple Bestigor herds. As you can tell by the name, they are the best of the Gors, and can certainly do some pretty decent damage. Massive two-handed axes with really good AP. They're armoured, they're armour-piercing, and they can certainly go toe-to-toe with most of the high elf infantry and come out on top. With some more Ungor spearheads supporting this flank, and a ton of Centaurs roaming the fields, one of which does indeed have a great weapon. And on the left-hand side, we have triple Centaurs, two with great weapons as well. So really kind of fast, mobile flanks overall, which is always good up against the High Elves to sneak into the back line and try to shut them down. We do have a Brave Shaman of Shadows coming in with Enfeebling Foe, Melkov's Mystifying Miasma, and the Pendulum. We also have Morga, the Shadowgave as well, of course. He is realistically the only competitive Beastman Lord, unfortunately, and he's of course coming in with both his summons, and that's why you bring him. For the Chaos Spawn summon, he's also pretty tanky, poison, not the worst duelist in the world. Now for the forces of the High Elves, we have a pretty simple front line. It is a mixture of spearmen and rangers dotted all the way along. Pretty good all round really. Rangers will be able to carve their way through Ungors and Gors very effectively, whilst the spearmen hold back and try and pin in some of the larger creatures the Beastmen can bring. This High Elf build, though, is no normal High Elf build. We have some pretty interesting stuff. Number one, we have a Lordmaster of Hoeth coming in with Spirit Leech and Earthblood. A character you don't get to see terribly often. I sometimes take them up against Dowie. They're generally considered not too great, but we'll have to see how it does perform. And I always like people experimenting with builds as well. On this flank, we do have double Silver Helms, one of which is shielded, as well as 2 units of Illyrian Reaver Archers. Big fan of this pick. They can try to out-skirmish throwing axes and the like. For the leadership core, we do indeed have Tyrion here, coming in, of course, with all his buffs, Sunfang and the like, and I have no idea why he does not do fire damage yet, or at least magic damage, with that glorious sword of his. But here he is, trotting into battle, 125 armor, pretty decent melee attack with 83 and defense of 72, and a pretty good charge bonus as well, as he is rather swift on his steed. Certainly an underrated character all round, but I think he does kind of suffer from just having better allies, unfortunately, in the form of like Teclis and Lariel and the like. Up in the sky as well, we have a rogue sun dragon, something you don't see often at all. Incredibly cheap, cheapest of all the dragons. I don't know the last time I saw it, but I think this is a matchup where maybe it can indeed shine. It does decent fire damage, can perhaps snipe out Morga, and yeah, you know, Beastmen tend to struggle up against large threats, so it should be some good fun. In the front line, Bestigors do ram into the Rangers here, and they're certainly going to be giving these Rangers an absolute hammering. Although they are taking some damage in return, yeah, the Rangers not having the best of times, and other Rangers have wandered into the spooky forest, which is always a bad idea when the Bray herds are lurking, and it looks like Centaurs do go for a frontal charge before whipping around the flank there. Over here, it looks like there's a big overload trying to push through these Rangers, really trying to dart through this right-hand flank, and a massive breath attack comes down the side, getting ridiculous damage to all of these units, already up to 51 kills and gaining a chevron is very impressive stuff, and tries to pop in here as well and drive away the Centaurs. Lovely counter-punch though coming by the Beastmen, summoning some Chaos Spawn behind the lines to really break this side of the formation, although the Sunfang is coming through, killing friend and foe alike, but it pretty much was a lost flank at this point for the High Elves, so no, not too much of a loss there. Silver Helms have charged in to try and escort Tyrion. It looks like we are going to be getting a bit of a blob fight in the centre. More Silver Helms perhaps can charge in. Huge pendulum coming down from the Beastmen, slaughtering a ton of Rangers and Spearmen, and they're certainly losing the flank engagements for now. Centaurs are now reaving through the back lines, have looped up and around, and waiting to see if they want to do any rear charges or commit to this giant blob fight. It looks like the Illyrian Reaver Archers have charged in, as well as the Sun Dragon here. And this is a fight they need to win, committing this many resources. But it's not a fight they want. Both the summoned Chaos Spawn are here. At all times, you want to try and avoid these guys, because of course they will dissipate after a certain amount of time, so you're just giving them free value. You can see up to 23 kills and 11 kills here, just unnecessary losses, but at the same time he's been dragged into the fight, so he has thrown all of it to the wall basically, which is all he can do. Looks like the Sun Dragon has popped back up into the sky, gained another chevron here, probably going to come back for a breath attack, and as you can see by the orange aura around these Chaos Spawn, they're not too long for this world. Centaurs do dart around just to put a bit of pressure on the Illyrian Reavers and force them wide, and also perhaps to do some cycle charging. Big breath attack coming once more, but it looks like this one actually burns as many friends as foes. It does push off some Centaurs before jumping down into the Bestigors, but the High Elf courage is failing them as Tyrion stands alone, especially as his mighty heroes and dragon with him. But from the forest lurks and plods the Chaos Spawn Gore herds. Looks like they're rather successful in fighting off the High Elves. There's still some troops fighting here. This is a bit of a problem. They've got 2 units bunched up on a single unit of Ungor Spearheads, and yes, they'll win this engagement, but they realistically need to be over here in the main fight. Now, this is the weakness of the Sun Dragon. It is far more squishy than its kind of bigger brethren, and I've got Enfeebling Foe popped on top of it. Even with the Earthblood to try and top it off, he's getting dragged down now. And that's a problem with dragons in general, is they're rather bulky and they don't have the biggest mass to push through troops. So you can see cavalry and the like can pin it in and start whittling it away. But it's done some pretty good work apart from that. The 2 heroes of legend do fight back to back here as the Lawmaster of Hoeth protects Tyrion with his life. More Centaurs do come crashing in from both sides here, and the heroes are certainly up against it. Maybe another Sunfang, if that has recharged, would be relatively useful to get them out of this situation. Illyrian Reavers have been pushed wide. They did force off some Centaurs, but they need to go over here and help out their Silverhelm brethren, or come back to the main fight, as the balance of power does go heavily in the Beastmen favour. You see that Sun Dragon is running for the hills, but it should be coming back, as the Brave Shaman is routing nearby as well. Looks like some of the Centaurs are going to bounce over here, targeting down the Rangers. Good pick all round by the Beastmen. Hunt down these troops. They're not anti-large or anything. You can simply whack them, run away, whack them, until they do indeed break. Spearmen desperately trying to catch up now, but the High Elves really need to solidify their forces and come to the aid of these heroes. But they're not doing too bad at all, up to 39 and 45 kills respectively, and going pretty strong, not taking too much damage either. Perhaps a couple of Earthbloods could keep them in the fight a little while longer, but there is just Beastmen everywhere you look. Big breath attack coming in once more, trying to help clear out the waves of Centaurs, doing some good damage, but Enfeebling Foe is going to lower Tyrion. I think I would have rather done it on the Lawmaster and just snipe him out as quickly as possible, get that magic off the field. And it looks like the Beastmen are starting to break here, as Sunfang is coming down, although it's not going to catch the most troops. It should force off these Bestigors at least, and the High Elf characters live to fight another day. Some Spearmen have rallied here in the trees, but there's so many Beastmen just reaving across the battlefield. Centaurs dancing all over the place. We still have a relatively healthy unit of Chaos Spawn. Of course, Morga as well. It's still a decent melee combatant, although he will fall to the might of Tyrion in a one-on-one duel. Illyrian Reavers are now darting back to the fray, looking to focus down at Centaurs, no doubt. Looks like this time a Melkov's Mystifying Miasma has been popped on the Lawmaster to do a little bit of added damage. Sun Dragon is now finishing off that Brave Shaman as he walks over him and tramples him to death before flying victorious back up into the sky. Perhaps it has one last breath attack. I can't remember how many it's used. I think no, it's used all 3. But it's going to come for a lovely charge on the Bestigors, terrifying them and forcing them off, protecting these heroes, and perhaps an unlikely comeback for the High Elves is on the cards, but there's just so many troops chilling out and waiting in this forest for now. All the other High Elves have broken and run for the hills, and I just don't think there's going to be quite enough, but who knows? Sun Dragon is terrifying off some Ungors now. Lawmaster has been left on his own. He's disappeared from Tyrion, who is now surrounded by Centaurs with great weapons, and yes, they may be inferior foes, especially in Tyrion's mind, but you know, all that damage coming in, even with Stand Your Ground popped, it is going to hurt him slightly. He does have Star of Avalon, I hope, equipped to him. Now there is Heart of Avalon, so he maybe get a big burst of life, but the problem with Tyrion is often one of the last fighters left standing, so it looks like army losses may actually set in before he gets that health block and, you know, continues to fight, as the Sun Dragon was indeed felled by the Bestigors' mighty axes, and it is going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the Beastmen. Very well played to both these combatants, Desert Fox and Mad Doc Mike, with some really interesting builds as well. Massive fan of this kind of elite centre pocket of Bestigors, and then a ton of cavalry as well to whip around those flanks, harass any archers and the like that the High Elves may bring. They didn't in this case, but then come in, get those rear attacks, and those great weapons certainly packed a punch. See 104 kills as well on one unit, probably chasing down routing troops. So big fan of this build. As for Mad Doc Mike, clearly trying out some stuff, and at the same time, I'm a big fan of this build as well. Lawmaster performed admirably, up to 72 kills. I still don't think he's worth it compared to a mage overall. But he certainly did a good job. Tyrion up to 7 kills as well, can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, and did some pretty good work, some good Sunfangs as well. I think the second one, unfortunately, didn't catch the most troops. The real MVP of this battle all round, despite being on the losing side, I think was the Sun Dragon, up to 127 kills and a silver chevron. It started just on one bronze one, did some fantastic work all round, and it is the cheapest of all the dragons, so yeah, did some good value. I am surprised we don't see it quite as often. I mean, we basically never see it, and that's the problem here. Where I think in 1 or 2 matchups, it's relatively cheap, it has free breath attack still, it can certainly do some pretty decent damage, so maybe slightly underrated, but at the same time you saw, if it does land, which it needs to obviously get that value and charge in and do some damage, it is very glass cannon. Dragons in general, pretty glass cannon. They get surrounded and dragged down, which a lot of single entities do, but particularly dragons, and then they can't get back up in the air and fly again, and the Sun Dragon is the squishiest of them all, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword all round. But despite that, still a really good showing by both of these guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give it a big old thumbs up and comment down below. I do read through them all and try to reply to as many as possible. If you want to send in replays, get involved in the tournament scene and the like, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link in the description down below, as well as other links to Patreon and the like on how you can support the channel. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.